All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. The internet connection. That's why everything seems a bit laggy at the moment. But if you can hear me fine, just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, all good? Kishan, all good?
Yeah.
RJ?
All good.
Yeah, guys. Really sorry about that. There's some internet connection issues that's happening in my area. They're trying to fix that, but we're going to still try and have this show. We're going to talk a lot about the Chelsea news, all the latest news that's going on. I think it'll be interesting to go through all of that. I know we always talk about matches and whatnot. What's going around the club will be interesting to go through that. So let's get straight into it. First of all, to everyone that's joined in, thank you so much. Baggy TV, thank you for joining. Sean Chelsea, thank you for joining. Yusuf, you're always there. So everyone, do appreciate the support that you guys always give us. Let's try and get into this. Let me just bring this up. And this sucks, man. Can't believe how laggy it is. But it is what it is. All right, let's talk about the first thing. Both of you boys. Thomas Tuchel has been nominated for Premier League Manager of the Month award for February. I'll go to you first up, Kishan. I mean, this is absolutely well-deserved. I mean, he's had 10 matches, 7 wins, 3 draws. So what's your thoughts about this particular news? 100% deserved, or does he even deserve to win it as well?
He definitely deserves to be nominated, but it's just unfortunate for him. He's got Pep, I think he had 6 wins in the month, so there's no chance of him actually getting the award, I think, because I think 6 wins is next level, and he had Tottenham, teams like that. So I think Pep's going to walk it, but it's good that Tuchel got nominated, definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. Completely forgot about Pep Guardiola. He's been going around winning everything. We've all been so caught up in the whole Tuchel hype. We forgot that Pep's gone around cleaning everything up. RJ, although Pep's wanted everything in the month of January and February as well, pretty much. It's still great to be nominated and be in the mix of all of these things. After he's literally had no time to prepare for Chelsea. So this is great news for Thomas Tuchel and Chelsea, right?
Yeah, 100%. And just to sort of extend on that whole nomination, firstly, 110% deserved, I'd say, given the context in which he walked into the club. I know that's just one of those intangibles in the background, but Pep won it last month. Obviously, City continue to win, and credit to them. They've been phenomenal, so hats off where it's due. But look, to be honest with you, I think that Tuchel's in with a pretty good shout to get it for this month, just because I suppose the degree of difficulty in some of the results as well. I think maybe one of the things that might sort of hold him back a little bit was that 1-1 draw against Southampton. I think people might look at that and say, oh, geez, that's not a really good result against a team that was really out of form. So that might work against him in terms of actually taking out the manager of the month. But yeah, he's definitely put himself right up there. So yeah, full credit to him.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Taron, welcome, my man. Late inclusion to the whole scenario. Glad to have you. I know you were busy with your podcast, so do appreciate you taking the time out. Maldini's middle finger did mention here that no Chelsea player has been nominated. This kind of gives me the feeling that even though Thomas Tuchel was nominated and the players weren't, it just gives me a wholesome sort of performance from the team, that the team has been playing fantastically as a unit, as opposed to 1 or 2 individuals playing well, even though I think Mason Mount is probably a good shout for hopefully next month. But this is, although it's a great point from Maldini's middle finger, how do you look at it? You look at it as a team has been playing collectively very well, yeah?
Yeah, you guys can hear me all right, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool, yeah. I feel like definitely individuals get more spotlight. For example, Bruno Fernandes is always nominated because he basically carries Man United at the minute. He's kind of their focal point in the team, and Jack Grealish is often nominated for the award. So I really feel like Mason Mount should have been nominated. Even though it has been a collective team effort recently, all the players have been really, really class. Mason Mount has been a real standout player in the league in this last month. I think 3 goals and 2 assists. He's been superb, and you can't. The Premier League, I think it's a joke they've looked past that. He needed to be in there. Even Christensen, I can understand Christensen not being in there as he wasn't really playing earlier in Tuchel's reign with the Wolves game and a few other games. But yeah, Mason Mount definitely has to be in there. That is Premier League needs to explain that one. I'm really annoyed about that. But yeah, the burden's been shared around a lot of Chelsea players. It's been a lot of good performers. Rudiger's been really good. Jorginho's been class. Mendy's been really
are you
good.
surprised that none of our defenders are in it?
To some instance, no, because defenders aren't often nominated for the Player of the Month award. It's normally attackers, or I don't know why. That's just how the Premier League works right now. But yeah, the defenders, if it was my opinion, I definitely would have put Rudiger in there, just because Rudiger's been different gravy this month. He's been superb. And yeah, it's annoying, but Mason Mount 100%, million percent should have been in the nominations.
Yeah, no, agreed, man, agreed. But yeah, nonetheless, very, very good news for Thomas Tuchel. Much deserved. To be nominated is fantastic. So hopefully one of these days when Pep slips up, that he does end up winning one. Let's go to the next news, guys. Once again, I'll start with Kishan. Here we go. It's so laggy, guys. Really, really sorry about this. Ashely Cole on Mason Mount. Next season, he is definitely pushing for captaincy. For me, is the best player at Chelsea and the first name on the team sheet. Kishan, I cannot argue with Ashely Cole. I think right now, when Thomas Tuchel is, setting up his team, definitely Mason Mount is one of his first people that he's putting in the team sheet. And on top of that, his performances are warranted of such praise and such, such things that Ashely Cole is saying. And I think the fan base can agree as well that he's one of the very first names in the team sheet at the moment. He's one of the key players. How do you feel about this particular player? I tweeted something yesterday that he's minimum 70 million. How much do you reckon he's worth in the market right now?
It doesn't matter because we're never going to sell him, and I don't think he'll leave us. So, really. But yeah, I think compared to last season, I think there were a couple of matches where he did look a bit out of place, but now it really doesn't matter. We've had him play Atletico, Liverpool, and he looks like the best player on the pitch in those 2 games pretty much. So I can see why Ashely Cole is saying the captain thing next season. But I don't think it will be that soon at the same time. I still think Aspie's got a bit in the tank, and then it depends on if we move Jorginho on and that kind of thing. But he's basically learning the captain role in the background. So long term, he probably will be our captain. I always thought we'd sign Declan Rice and he'd become that sort of John Terry kind of like figure. But we're going for the Frank Lampard type figure instead. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely nothing wrong with it. RJ, 100% Mason Mount is captain material though, right? He may not be captain next season with Azpilicueta still there. And I think we do need to have Azpilicueta still be around. But he's 100% captain material, Mason Mount, yeah?
Yeah, a couple of sentiments from myself. So totally agree with Kishan. I actually like the JT Lampard, comparisons. That makes a lot of sense and resonates with me. But I think extending on that point about Mason Mount, I put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago and it's nothing new. Everybody's complimenting him. But the notion of my tweet was he's only 22. He's inevitably going to be the captain, I think. Well, at least right up there. But for me, he's already a leader. So it's, for me, it's a leader is a behavior, not a title. The title will come over time. And he's already had the honor of captaining us once when Lampard just before he left. So he's got to look and feel for it. And for me, I think the maturity, the leadership, but beyond the intangibles, the continued improvement in his actual gameplay each week and the way he continues to address those perceived deficiencies in his game. For example, the amount of take-ons, progressive passes, the risks, the actual decision-making, which is something that will come as he gets a little bit older, but he continues to tick all the boxes. And it's hard to agree with club legend Ashely Cole that he's probably not ready. I do agree with you, though, Miz, that Aspie is a good influence, and sometimes it's easy for us as a fan base to get caught up in the now and the moment and look to the vogue option of someone that's playing well but disregarding some of the qualities of some of our older players. So I think in short, Mason Mount's already a leader. he'll probably become a future captain. But I think there's still a place to have, like West Ham, with Mark Noble as the squad captain, but everybody knows Declan Rice is the hands-on captain, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, definitely the future of our club.
No, absolutely well said, man. I mean, as you said, behavior is what counts the most than the title. And we can see the behavior in Mason Mount is a proper captain. Taron, let's try and tackle this question from Baggy. Mount is being compared to Lampard. Is he more a Joe Cole or Lampard? You wanted a Mount show. Let's have it, my boy.
Well, for me, I think he's more similar to Joe Cole in that instance, is that you don't see him making as many late runs as Lampard did. He's not really that player who can just give it to and shoot from like 30 yards out and bang it in top bins. For me, he's kind of a really good dribbler of the ball like Joe Cole. He's someone that can take it into the box, has a goal threat inside the box, is good at in his final third sometimes. So for me, he's more of a Joe Cole type player, and I'm sure he will be. I can't really say that he's going to be as big as Lampard at the Chelsea Football Club, but I'm sure he will be similar to Lampard in the future if he improves some of those attributes I just mentioned. But for me right now, he's more of Joe Cole, and that is kind of still a compliment to be compared to a great legend of the club. And for me, it's just keep more levels up. It'll be another player soon, and then it'll be Lampard eventually. And if he's given the number 8 shirt, then yeah, that'll be even better as well.
Yeah, bro. Joe Cole undoubtedly still a fantastic player. At his time for Chelsea, he was unbelievable. Pace, goal scoring ability, assist. So if Mason Mount can be that player, I'll take him. And if he can develop into Frank Lampard, why not? Sean, Chelsea FC, Mason Mount transfer value is 109 million. I've just looked it up. Wow, there you go, Kishan. 109 million. I was sort of saying 70 million. That would have been a bargain. But yeah, 109 million it is. Let's now move on to the next topic. Mason Mount. We could probably do a whole sort of episode on Mason Mount. But guys, I want to talk to you guys about N'Golo Kante. This time, let's start with Taron, and we'll go the reverse way. Taron, Tuchel has come out specifically and said that N'Golo Kante needs to be managed. He's praised N'Golo Kante massively against that match against Liverpool. That was a perfect kind of match, and we touched on that in our review that, when the teams come at us, N'Golo Kante comes into his element. He can destroy the play, he can intercept, and then he can start the counter attack. That's exactly what we did with the Mason Mount goal as well. And Tuchel goes on to say that he's just an incredible player, incredible engine. It's just a different specimen altogether. But he does say that N'Golo Kante has to be managed. He cannot play week in, week out. And this is exactly what Matt Law has stated here, that Thomas Tuchel has confirmed that he will have to manage midfielder N'Golo Kante, who was outstanding in Chelsea's victory over Liverpool through the run of 4 games until the international break. So, knowing that Jorginho is suspended for Atletico Madrid and Kante has to play that, and our upcoming matches are Everton and Leeds, there could be a possibility that N'Golo Kante gets rested. Would you believe?
Yeah, but just onto the point that needs to be managed 100%, because a fully fit N'Golo Kante in your midfield is a world-class player and he's undroppable. And if it means having to rest him for some of the smaller games, do you know what? Bob's your uncle. I'm 100% for it. I agree with that 100%. And yeah, for Kante to be available in this big games, we've seen yesterday he looks fully fit, in my opinion, and look how well he played. He was destroying midfield. His pass yesterday was absolutely superb to Mason Mount, and he's really improved his game since he's been playing like as a lone DM. He's been much better with his feet. Under Lampard, when he was playing lone DM, he improved his game quite a lot. And yeah, fully fit Kante is amazing to have in your team. Any club in world football would want him. Man City, Bayern Munich, anyone would take N'Golo Kante. So yeah, for that Atletico Madrid game, I feel like we rest him against Everton and maybe Leeds. We play Georgie and Cover. They're not games that maybe will be going lock, stock, and barrel. Maybe Leeds we start Kante as they're quite a high intensity, high paced team. But yeah, we need Kante to be fully fit for that game. We can't risk him getting these little hamstring injuries, these little thigh injuries that he's been known to get in the last few seasons, being overplayed by the likes of Maurizio Sarri and Antonio Conte. So he's going to be absolutely crucial in holding a lead. As we said, buzzing around the likes of Suarez, Joao Felix, Correa, Lamar. He's crucial in that game. And considering we're probably going to be sitting back quite a lot, that's when we need someone like N'Golo Kante to be there to transition the play to Ziyech to kind of create something. So, yeah, Kante is absolutely crucial for this game. I can't stress enough. Even if Jorginho was fit, I still would have played Kante no matter what in this game. Not fit, sorry, suspended. I still would have played Kante no matter what in this game. And yeah, crucial, you have to start N'Golo Kante. He's a world-class player on this day, and I love him.
Yeah, agreed. RJ, how good is it to, we've had previous managers that said, the likes of Sarri and Frank Lampard as well, that every time Kante is fit, you have to play him, you've got to continuously play him. How good is it to see a manager like Tuchel come in and say, no, this guy is a valuable player. I need to manage him because he is in the wrong, he's in the 30s coming up very soon. So we need to manage him. We need to have that longevity with him. And he's very important in the big matches. So how good does it feel that Thomas Tuchel understands that I've got to manage this play?
Yeah, I think that is a very intelligent observation from Tuchel, because I think he's had the benefit of observing the patterns of Kante over the last few seasons, whereas I think the context is with someone like Sarri, his head was on the chopping block pretty early on. Like, he had those up and down moments. He had established his style of play, but there was a lot of dependency on high pressing from Kante. But as we saw over those couple of seasons, he was unfortunately quite susceptible to injury. And even Lampard tried to an extent to shield him from it. But I think, again, when the managers' heads are on the chopping block, they start to default to some of their better players, sometimes at the detriment of that player, because they know that they're probably risking them. Obviously, their job's on the line. But I think you're absolutely right that Tuchel's probably looked at Lampard's situation, looked at Sarri and said, we've got this world-class player in our hands, but he can't continue to run himself into the ground, because despite his 2-player-in-1 stats that he sort of revealed, there's no point in having those incredible numbers if he's going to get injured every so often. So it's really about recognising that trade-off there. I think, I don't know, it was a little bit of an Atletico preview, and maybe we'll talk about that when the time comes, but I think his role, Kante that is, in that game is going to be elevated significantly. And why I say that is not only because we know Atletico have to come out and score, that's a given. What's perhaps unnoticed or underappreciated is the lack of, or the drop in intensity that we're going to see because Mason Mount is suspended. So we're going to need someone else to help fill that void, and who better to come in and help fill that void to an extent, even though their roles are not like for like. Yeah, so look, in short, Kante needs to be managed. He's world class. I do suspect that he will have a little bit of time to rest and recover during those games, but good luck to Tuchel in finding that balance. And to be perfectly honest, I think the Jovicic pairing has given him some confidence, and people like ourselves to an extent here, that we're not 100% dependent on Kante playing 90 minutes each game. So that's a bit of a blessing for us.
No, 100% agreed. Kishan looks like a George Stephanopoulos doppelganger. Who is George Stephanopoulos? I'm not very... Yeah, I need to Google that as well. But Deep State, oh man, it's good to see you in the channel, man. Misha. Kishan, N'Golo Kante, the question I have for you is, next season, do you believe in Jorginho Kovacic to push for a title for us? Or do you think it's going to be Kante and someone else that's going to help us win the title? What is your stance in that? Because personally, I can't imagine how Jorginho and Kovacic is the 6-6 combination that pushes us to win a title. I think it has to be Kante and someone else who can sit deep, and Kante can just go up and down and win the balls and be a destroyer. Just more like Kante and Matic, more like a Fabregas kind of player. What's your thoughts on that next season?
Yeah, again, I always thought it would be Kante and Rice or someone along that profile. So I do think it has to be someone who's bought and not Jorginho or Kova. But generally, I think over the past few weeks, George and Kova have given us more confidence in the fact that if we didn't get someone, I think they could maybe we wouldn't go for a title with them, but I think we could probably get quite close. But they will, I think with them, you kind of wait for them to eventually let you down. But as of late, they haven't. And another thing is formation as well. You don't know whether he wants to play a 4-3-3 in the future. So if he does, we might have like another profile of midfielder. and it might not be a double six. But from what he says, I think when he plays Kante, it'll always only be as a double six. So if we carried on with this formation, I would say we have to go and buy someone, but someone with the ability to sit and just ping balls forward and that kind of thing, not necessarily an energetic midfielder.
Yeah, agreed. It would have to be someone who's defensively astute. It would have to be someone who is quite physical, and it'd have to be someone who has the ability to make those key passes from the back, like the deep lying sort of playmaker. So it allows someone like Kante to do what Kante does. Right now, when you position Kante with either Kovacic or Jorginho, sometimes it looks a bit mismatched, even though it worked out very nicely yesterday against Liverpool, but that's because the team was coming at us. We're not going to have every team coming at us. That's the caveat here. Not every team is going to come at us. Maximum team are actually going to sit back. So we need to think about that moving forward as well, which is very important. We've got here Amar saying, let's just bring this up. By the way, thank you for joining, Amar. Agree with Lewis. Agree with Lewis. Oh, they're calling you Lewis.
No,
is that your another name?
No, someone above called Lewis said, sell Jorginho and get Rice. So he's replying to them.
Lewis
Yeah,
Patel.
I just noticed, man. I am half sleepy. Lewis Ratner, sell Jorginho, get Rice. Agree with Lewis. Rice is a good option. Yeah, look, I don't know how much of the Rice rumor is still going on. I think since Frank Lampard has left, is it still on, Kishan?
No, I think that's gone. It'll have to be someone else similar. I don't think we get him. He's too expensive now as well.
You know what's interesting, Miz and guys, about Kante, and I was thinking about it when you brought up the whole Kante situation and talking about resting him, etc. One thing about him that I think sometimes gets a tad unnoticed is that fundamentally, stripping back his superhuman-like engine, is he's a fundamentally pretty good football player. And I thought his actual passing the other day against Liverpool, because I know that's a bit of a criticism he gets at times, is can he handle the heat when teams come at him? Is his touch
passing
at the right level? Like the long range pass he gave, people say, well, that's just a long pass he found upfield to Mason Mount. But I think you're sort of dismissing the quality that, A, he had the awareness and vision to see that, firstly. Secondly, he still had to hit a very accurate pass. But even throughout the match, some of his one touches, like you see between Azpilicueta and Reece James, he was, and even with Chilwell on the other side, he was effectively acting as basically a 1-point touch between back and wing back and midfield. So I think there is a little bit of unfair criticism at times that he's just this seek and destroy kind of player. So I wanted to set the record straight on that.
No, you're right. You've mentioned it last time as well that it's not really necessary that we look at him as a seek and destroy. He does have good passing ability. My only issue is that when we do hold the possession a lot, I don't think he's comfortable holding the ball too much. He's more of someone, you come at me, I sneak the ball off you, and I can start a counter and I can find a pass. But when it's about dictating the play, and this is something that, I just saw Nini post something yesterday, and this is where I have a bit of an issue with sometimes when he posts things, and not just him, anyone who sort of posts things like that. It kind of creates a bit of a false image that the fan base thinks Kante can't pass. No, I think majority of the people thinks Kante can pass, but it's just a matter of when we hold the possession a lot, he's not someone who can dictate the play like Jorginho does. So, and that's fine. They're two different players. It's okay. So that's the only distinct.
Agreed.
The difference that I wanted to sort of point out. Let's move on to the next topic, which is, this is quite interesting. Let's bring this up. Oh, by the way, Samrida Karel, I saw your thumbnail. I thought I saw Willie Caballero. No disrespect. RJ, I think they're talking about you there, my man.
I'm ready. I'm actually Caballero. I forgot to tell everybody.
Got a bit of news here. The likes of Thiago Silva and Eduardo Mendy may be stopped from playing for their countries amid fears they would have to quarantine upon their return. Thiago Silva, Tuchel. I'm absolutely worried. Tuchel warns Chelsea stars he may block them from playing March international matches. I've completely forgotten that we've got internationals coming up on March. I mean, with all the pandemic and everything going on and lockdown, I can't believe they're still thinking about this. And then you have the quarantine and all of that. I don't know about you guys, and let's talk about it. I'll go to Kishan first of all on this one. I've seen international break momentum massively. Like you get into a momentum, then you go to the international break, and then you come back, and then you have this mad losing streak. Do you know what I mean? And then on top of that, players, if they're having to quarantine and we're missing out on them for 2 weeks, I mean, surely, this needs to be, there needs to be some clause that if players like Thiago Silva and Mendy have to quarantine because wherever they go, they need to be stopped. They can't go. Like, do you agree with that? And I think other Premier League teams are getting on board with it as well.
Yeah, I think we saw that article from Matt Law that said Chelsea would stop it happening alongside Liverpool and Spurs. So I think that's a good thing because especially someone like Thiago Silva, he's just been injured for like 4 or 5 weeks. You don't really want him to go out. You don't even know. I think probably somewhere in South America, and then he's got a long flight back. Even when he used to have that kind of thing back in the day under Lampard, we never used to play him in the next game. So imagine now. So I don't think it's a wise idea to have it. And just in general, I think in Europe, most teams have qualified for the Euros. I don't think there's any more qualification games left. So there'll just be a bunch of friendlies. I don't see what the point is. Especially in times like this, you might as well. No one wants to see it as well. No one cares about international football right now.
Miz, you're on mute.
Any sort of European competition? Hold on. Yeah. I just realized I'm on mute. Sorry. Is it just friendlies, or are there any European competitions on as well? Or is it just friendlies?
I don't know.
Just going to Kishan again.
It might be Nations League, but even with that, that's just glorified friendlies anyway. So I don't see the reason why they should be playing that. I think everyone's just waiting for the Euros. That's the only thing people care about internationally now.
Yeah, no, interesting as well. RJ, your thoughts on this? I mean, as Kishan said, Matt Law did come out with a tweet, which Kishan actually shared with me. And Matt Law was saying, someone like Liverpool, who've already got so much struggles with so many injuries, then to have some of their players not being available for 2 weeks under quarantine, let's just say. And not just Liverpool, the other teams, we fall into it. We talk about Ngolo Kante as well. Surely, the FA has to come into play here and say, if all of this happens, then the clubs have every right to ensure that player doesn't go.
Yeah, let's even stripping back from the whole COVID pandemic situation, there's always been that inherent struggle between the clubs and internationals, just trying, because effectively the clubs pay for the assets and they want their assets available at the maximum amount of time they can utilize them. But I think particularly now that we can't ignore the elephant in the room being the pandemic, surely there's got to be a better trade-off here between the benefits of having those international games versus not just only the disruption to the domestic campaigns, but at a more human level, who's factoring the player welfare here? Because it doesn't seem like they're taking that into account very well. And yeah, I'm fully in agreement with Kishan and yourself and even with Matt Law and Coda to come out and said, there's got to be a bit more reasonableness to this, because you can't have, especially at the business end of the season, players playing in, let's just be blunt, some meaningless international fixtures. And I actually quite like the international games because I support Italy and I like watching other European and non-European teams play. But in the middle of a season, or actually at the back end of the season, surely there's got to be a decision where the pros of going on international are outweighed by the cons of all the disruption, particularly all the health risks. Because, let's face it, a lot of these teams now, this is where they start having their season's objectives determined. And if you're going to have Thiago Silva, you're going to have a lot of these players that are key to teams that have already been facing a lot of injuries. Now you're asking them to have players in quarantine. That can make the difference between finishing in a top 4, top 6, those in relegation zones, all for, let's again, a meaningless international game. So yeah, got to get a better balance here.
Yeah, agreed. Lewis Ratner has said England should pick from the championship. Why not? Seriously, let the championship players go out there and ball out. I'm sure they'd be excited. Taron, first of all, massive shout out for the super chat, CFC Dubois. Guys, for me, CFC Dubois is an absolute enigma in the Chelsea football Twitter community. The guy, I have seen him tweet something and reach 500 likes in the space of 1 minute. So this guy is an absolute baller. He's a generational talent in the Chelsea football community. That's how I call it. So thank you so much, my man, for the super chat. I want my man Taron to tackle this. Let Giroud go for France so he can beat Henry's record. I mean, I suppose Giroud would be thinking about that as well, Taron, wouldn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And first of all, CFC Dubois, please, can you answer my DM on Twitter? Because I'd love to have you on my podcast. Just got to put that out there first of all.
Nice plug.
Now I'm going to say some nice stuff about Giroud to kind of sugarcoat that a bit now. But
Taron,
yeah,
don't worry. I'll reach out to CFC Dubois and set this up for you. Don't you worry.
Thank you. Yeah, let's just leave all the other Chelsea players just for Dubois. Let's just get Giroud. Let's get Dubois to message Didier Deschamps and Thomas Tuchel. Let's get Giroud. But yeah, Giroud can go for France because I'm sure it's crucial for the way that France plays as a target man. Bring Mbappe into the game, bring Kingsley Coman, bring Griezmann into the game. So, yeah, I think Giroud is much better than Thierry Henry, 100%. I'm just joking. But, yeah, Giroud can definitely beat Henry's record. And, yeah, I'm sure he can. But, yeah, thanks, Dubois, for the donation to the stream. Hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're listening right now. And, yeah, let Giroud go for France. I agree, man.
Look, I mean, we do have the depth, I suppose, in terms of, Tammy Abraham, although he's a bit out of favour, he's still in and around in the squad. And then Timo Werner can be striker. Then you got Havertz as well, who can play the 9. So if it does mean that Giroud needs to go and do this, by all means, go and do it. But then again, if Champions League matches are around at that time, and we know how brilliant Giroud is in Europe, so we don't want him to be, caught up in the international scene too long. We do need him as well for the Champions League days where he thrives a lot. Guys, let's now move on to some transfer news. We all love transfer news. Let's talk about some of these transfer news. Some of these players, honestly, I don't really follow. Let's see if this comes up, man. This lagging internet. Once again, I really apologize, guys, for this. But my area is going through some internet issues, which they are trying to fix. Here we go. Okay, as you can see, Christian Folks. I don't know how much you guys take him seriously anymore. He has come up with some crazy news in recent times about Mason Mount, how he thinks Mason is worried about Kai Havertz and all of that. And then obviously there was a big, chaos about that. And he's come up with some crazy stuff, which went true, as he always says, true. But he's now coming out and talking about Ibrahim Konate, who is a Leipzig player. And he's saying that Chelsea FC is still interested in Ibrahim Konate. Zolslo, assistant coach of Thomas Tuchel, knows the player from common times at Leipzig and should try to convince Konate. Kishan, how much have you followed Konate, my man?
Not at all, to be fair. I've hardly watched the guy. I think 1 or 2 matches against United and then maybe the Liverpool match. And I don't know, from what I watch, him and Upamecano, they haven't really set the world alight. Like, I can't believe some of the teams they get linked
They're
with.
all error-prone, man. They're very error-prone.
Error-prone, and Konate has been injured a lot. I saw his injury history, and I looked at that and thought, no, don't want him. I think he's going to be around. I think he's got a release clause of around 40 million as well. But again, you're paying 40 million and he's going to be out for a lot of the season. I don't see the point. I think we should just go for someone else. And there's a lot of good centre-backs around. So I don't really see the need to get Konate.
On the centre-back topic, there was a really good comment here. Let me see if I can bring this up. I think it was Maldini's middle finger. Let's just bring this up. Because, we are connected to a lot of good centre-backs. As you said, Kishan, David Alaba, although he doesn't want to play centre-back, he wants to play more midfield. Then there was, who else was there? What's that Bayern Munich player? Jerome Boateng. A lot of experienced sort of defenders, Nicolas Sule, Varane. But Here's a comment here from Maldini's middle finger. Thoughts on AC, guys? Considering he's been phenomenal, but still, it's in a back three. Kishan, do you think, Christensen, there was talks about him leaving. Now there's talks about Zuma leaving. Christensen's playing pretty good. Rudiger's playing pretty good. Taron, not that long ago, in one of the reviews, got so excited. He said, I don't want anyone else. I'm happy with Silva and Christensen. We can win the league with those two. He was very confident. He's really put his word out there. But what's your thoughts on our current crop? Do you feel like we do definitely need an experienced centre-back, or you kind of see that under Thomas Tuchel, maybe our current crop could do well?
Currently, the current crop look really good. I think the system is definitely helping, but Christensen in the middle, and it's not like he's not been tested. The teams we've come up against are crazy, and we've kept clean sheets in all of the big games. So it kind of shows that they know what they're doing a lot more now. But at the same time, you always feel like you do need a bigger centre-back, because Thiago Silva was always a short-term fix. So we can give him a new contract, and I would give him another year. But then we should always be looking to who the next sort of guy is going to be. I think there's still going to be some question marks over Rudiger, Zuma, and maybe even Christensen. But if Christensen can show he's good, he can still remain in the squad. But I do think we're probably in need of two centre-backs even.
Interesting. Interesting, man.
I think we need two in the squad.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's probably definitely a need for one more experienced centre-back. Ajay, what's your thoughts on this? Ibrahim Konate links and also links with other centre-backs. And do you believe in our current crop to step up? And if we don't get anyone, that they should be able to do, considering, do remember this, Ajay, we do want to challenge for a title next season. So we want to have a strong centre-back position, or strong centre-backs, leading the line for us.
Yeah, no, it's actually very important to recognise those endeavours. And I think for as good as what our current crop have done and the tests that they have passed, let's be real, they've done a fantastic job. There's just a couple of observations or questions. It's firstly, will we see this good standard of performance last over a sustained period? That's to be determined. And that's a bit of a risk, because we obviously have the Premier League objective for next season. And number two, it seems that there's an interlinkage between their good performances and the back three system. So is the back three system going to be something that Tuchel wants to persist with? You have to ask Thomas Tuchel. Let's not discredit how good they've been going. I'm just not fully convinced yet that current crop is going to take us to the next level. But that's just a sort of an opinion I have. In terms of sort of linkages, I think I might have said it maybe the last time we were on here. I agree we probably should pursue one experienced defender and one defender that I believe has been thrown into the mix. I can't remember exactly who it is, so I don't want to throw their name into it, but it was someone that I have a bit of respect for. But I believe I saw there was a Skriniar link, so that's quite interesting. I'm an Inter fan, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because I actually like what he brings. But if he's going to leave anywhere, I'd happily welcome him to Stamford Bridge, because I think he's low-key underrated sort of player. If he doesn't come and make his way into the door and no one of an equivalent quality or better, then I actually think that we have some pretty decent options available to us that we've loaned out. And if I think we're going to look at the Konate link, I can't sort of rationalise why we'd want to spend upwards of 40 million on someone like Konate, who's an okay player, when we've got other young, prospering players like Mark Gay out on loan, and even Tomori. If Tomori doesn't get signed by AC, then surely he's every chance of making his claim to put himself into the first team. So yeah, just my thoughts on that.
Ampadu as well.
And yeah, of course, exactly. So we've got options in summary. So honestly, guys, if we're going to look to spend 40 million on someone Konate, wouldn't we want to reallocate some of those funds to somewhere that we need the priority, like maybe a DM or maybe, I don't know, a very fancy striker that we're pursuing at the moment, for example?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah,
Konate
go on, Kishan.
Name as well, because would you actually say he's better than Zuma? Who actually knows if he's going to be Zuma? At least I know we have him and we don't see him as that great, but I think outside of us, he does get French caps and that kind of thing. So he still has some world stature. You can't actually say Konate would upgrade on Zuma.
No, I have to agree. I don't. To be honest, I haven't seen too much of Leipzig games and much of Ibrahim Konate, but I do know that he's got massive injury concerns, the error prone that we've just talked about. And Zuma, even though he has the lapse of concentration as well, but I think at the end of the day, Zuma is probably a lot better than Konate. So I wouldn't, as RJ said, I wouldn't be spending that much money on some of these players. Just quickly as well, RJ, Skinner, I mean, is he someone is suited in the back three, or can he play in a back two? And just quickly before I go to you, I think I've got a message here from Taron. Taron, go on, my man. What were you going to say before I go to RJ quickly?
Yeah, sorry, RJ, for interrupting you. I just felt like something I had to say. I feel like the centre back position is something that we should prioritise, because we've seen Liverpool, they got Van Dijk, and it literally changed the whole team around. They got Man City got Ruben Diaz. So if we had someone back there like that presence, I feel like it could change a whole team. And I know we have so many class players on loan like Gurhi, Ampadu, Tamori, but I feel like we need one player that can just transform our whole team to make us like monsters, like we've seen a title-winning team. So I feel like that could push us to a title. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think
Go on, RJ. Go on, RJ.
No, I think it's a very good point. I think I probably misrepresented the sort of prioritize of that position. I think I totally agree. And I think part of motivation of saying that is I think that the caveat is if Thiago Silva stays fit, he represents that sort of seasoned campaigner to help nurture the new age. But that said, obviously, it's a bit of a flip of a coin gamble to place your stocks on a 36-year-old, despite how class he is. So, yeah, you make a very good point.
No, absolutely, man. Yusuf, thanks for joining, my man. And I believe, Kishan, you're just about to get going. Is that right? You need to go,
Yeah.
I think, UK 8 p.m. Give us some final thoughts before you leave, my man.
Just on the whole.
Just on the whole, anything you want to talk about, bro? It's your time. You got 1 more minute.
Yeah, just in general, it looks good for us. We're going to get top 4. I came on here after the United game and I said it, and it's definitely going to happen now. Especially if we beat Everton, then we're in a really good position. And we could push as high as second. That spot is not for United. I think they've got City this weekend as well, so we can make up a lot of ground.
Absolutely agreed, man. Yeah, the Everton game is huge. We can stop Everton, and that's going to be massive. And I'm sure I'm going to have you around more and more in this channel. And some of your mates might be coming along as well, some rival fans. So that's going to be interesting. So yeah, Kishan, once again, thank you heaps for joining, my man. I will see you soon. Taron and RJ will continue the show on. Have a good night, Kishan. Yeah. All right, boys. Just quickly, RJ, the whole Skinner thing. I was just wanting to touch on. Is he more suited in a back three, or can he do back four as well?
I believe he's more of a back four kind of player. That said, under Conte, he's had to by default adjust to a back three or back five, if you want to call it that. So that's what I think makes his interest in recent times all the more credible, because he's someone that, if we continue down this path of the formation we're playing, then he's someone that's got that familiarity. But equally, before Conte's time, he was someone that could play pretty successfully on both sides, right or left side of centre back in the back four. So yeah, I think that might be a watch this space kind of thing, but I'm just not sure if that's something where, if Inter know their worth, they won't let him go on the cheap, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
no, absolutely know what you mean. And with Antonio Conte, all the issues that he's had with when he was a manager at Chelsea and all the players that he wanted and we didn't get him, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be that nice to us. You want Skinny? Yeah, no problems. You can have him. I don't think he'll be that nice at all. Guys, let's move on to the next news, which is senior figures at Chelsea believe they can tempt Erling Haaland to join them this summer. They feel there are several elements in their favor, including an attractive financial package, the prospect of him becoming the centerpiece of a young, expensively assembled team. I'll go to you, Taron, first of all. there's a lot of talk that City are going to be big on this player as well, because Aguero's time's probably coming to an end over there. He's pretty much won everything. If they're going and win the Champions League this season, that pretty much does his whole trophy cabinet nicely done and dusted for Man City. And Man City obviously are doing a bit of rebuild there. There's Real Madrid as well, with Benzema probably moving on, and they could be interested. But Dortmund at the same time are saying, we're not interested to sell the player. But I feel like Dortmund may be forced to do that if they don't make the Champions League. They're going to lose a lot of money. And they may, with his buyout clause kicking in next season, which is 75 million euros or pounds, something like that, this is probably the best time for Dortmund to sell someone like Erling Haaland and get more money. And someone like Chelsea can actually go out there and spend. I was sort of thinking we are definitely in the hunt of getting Haaland, but City have the money as well. What's your thoughts when it comes to two teams? Who do you think Haaland would go to, considering Haaland's dad played for City ages ago?
Yeah, Alf Inc. Haaland played for Man City in the past, but right now I don't see Haaland really picking Chelsea. If he has many different options in the summer, it's down to the fact that if Dortmund want to sell him, it's the fact that if he wants to leave or not. And if he wants to leave, if he doesn't want to leave and he wants to stay at Dortmund for another season, that's up to him. For me, it is an attractive offer to sign for Chelsea. Obviously, we have a really upcoming young squad at the minute, a really good project with Thomas Tuchel going forward. We don't know how sustainable it is right now, but it's looking good so far. And it looks like Haaland will fit into Tuchel's systems. He's a fast striker, good on transition, strong, can hold up play, bring the other players into play. So for me, if it's waiting until next summer when he has that buyout clause, 75 million, as you mentioned, 100%, I think that he's going to choose the team that his dad used to play for, or a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. But this summer, do I see Chelsea paying 150 million? Yes, I do, because we have Roman Abramovich as our owner. So I do see that we can make the offer. For me, as on my podcast earlier, Tom Overham was kind of saying that he doesn't really see Haaland signing, as well as if he has other options, then is he going to choose a Chelsea team that maybe aren't fighting for Champions League, Premier League, season in, season out? He's going to choose a team that's like Man City, always in there for the Premier League, always in there for the Champions League. So for me, I definitely want Haaland to come and play for Chelsea. Obviously, he's only 20 years old and he's scoring goals left, right, and centre in different leagues, Champions League, Bundesliga. Give him any league. Give him the Argentinian league. He'll bang in goals as well. But Haaland. Yeah, 100%. I want, what's this comment said the other day, how the Haaland wants a big club in Chelsea. Yeah, there's so many different stories at the minute. This one's from ESPN, maybe Julian Laurens, who's quite reliable, but I don't tend to take ESPN that seriously with their reports. If it's coming out from like the likes of your Matt Law, your other big journalists. I know Simon Phillips reported it, but still, it's still from ESPN. And yeah, right now I'm not taking it too seriously because thank you, Yusuf. I like my hair as well. But yeah, right now I'm not taking it too seriously. But yeah, I love Haaland. Obviously, I'm sure you guys will like him as well.
Yeah, no, man, 100%. I'd love to have Haaland. Taron did mention that there could be an issue between, well, you know, what Thompson Jones is saying as well, you know, that Dortmund want a bigger club than Chelsea. Surely, Ajay, Chelsea's a pretty big club to mix in with this. I mean, I know if Man City do come in, they have the money as well, but Roman Abramovich can mix it up with almost everyone. What's your thoughts? I mean, is Haaland going to look at Chelsea that, they're not as big as they used to be in Europe? You know, someone like City who's always there and thereabouts, that's more attractive. How do you look at this?
Yeah, to be honest, it's hard because we're looking at it with the lens of a Chelsea fan, so we're inherently biased. But try to be objective as possible here, guys. We are a club that's been there, done that, and not only been there, done that like some of our other London rivals, but we're a club that's in the right trajectory. So I find it very hard to believe that they look anybody, absolutely any player in the world, including Haaland, who's obviously right up there for the very best. I don't think he would look at us at the moment and he put all the cards on the table of all the big clubs that are courting him, Real Madrid, whoever it is, Barcelona, who are shambles at the moment. I don't think he looks at Chelsea as a downgrade, especially now. Look how we're playing. Look at the buzz around. Look at the long-term investments we've made in the Havertzes, the Werners, all of the good players that we've bought. We're a club that's on the rise, and we're going to do some great things, or some good things, I should say, in the very short to medium term. So I think, in short, he's going to look at us and say, I want to be a part of that. We're going to be something. And with the great management we have in place, the investments we've made for the short, medium and long term, I can really stake my claim to become a trophy winner here in one of the biggest clubs, not only in England, but across Europe. So when I hear those "we want a bigger club than Chelsea" thing, I look at it with a wry smile, to be honest with you.
Me too, man. I mean, if you ever go around asking Leverkusen and, Leipzig, the kind of players that we got from them, and the caliber of money we paid as well. So, we've got the money. So Dortmund, I think they're just trying to sort of stir the pot up and obviously get as much as money possible for someone like Haaland, which is understandable. Dortmund need the money, but we definitely have the cash. If there's a particular club out there in the world at the moment, it is Chelsea Football Club that have the money to match it up. Yeah. So, and I don't see why Haaland would ever not want to come to us. As you said, though, RJ, that if we are being objective, City's a team that are always there, mixing it up to win the Premier League, very, very close in the Champions League as well. So that's one thing that we do need to improve. But if Haaland sort of looks at that and thinks that he will be the centerpiece of all of that, and he'll be the part of that in Chelsea to build that, that's exciting as well. So
yeah, for sure.
I've got no sort of, I'm absolutely no doubt that Haaland's joining us. I don't know why I have this feeling, but I just have absolutely zero doubt that Haaland's joining us. But it is watch this space sort of situation. Gabriel A, really good commentary in Germany. What with our German players and Tuchel, we are probably the biggest name at the moment. Yep, I have to agree. Taron, my boy, let's move on to the next news, which will be the final news of this segment. And this one is a very, very interesting one, Taron. I love this player a lot. Oscar, back in his days, was one of my favorite players, really was. I wish I'd got his jersey. This guy has come out. I support Chelsea. I have a chance if I have a chance to finish my career at Chelsea, it's a dream for me. Of course, Chelsea don't like to buy too many older players, which is normal because it's a top team from Europe. But I will try my best to fit in and finish there. And he goes on to talk about Taron that he kind of thinks himself as a Mason Mount. He watched Mason Mount and he goes, he kind of resembles Mason Mount. So that's top accolades for Mason Mount because Oscar was a special player in his time. Oscar, Mata, Eden Hazard. What was it called? Massacre? When they call Massacre, I think that was the name.
I don't know.
I think it was called Massacre. And yeah, that combination was brilliant. But how do you feel about Oscar coming back? Would you ever take him?
1 million trillion, all the billions %. Oscar, I love Oscar so much, man. I had a jersey of him. I think it was 13-14, a black and silver kit. Oscar 8 on the back. Oh my god, that kit was
classic days.
I wish our club was that forgiving with players over the age of 30. I really do, but I don't see Oscar with his wages, and sadly with his wages and his age. I think he's 30 or 31 now, coming back. But yeah, the memories that Oscar gave, the Juventus goals, the goal against QPR. All the skills, all the tricks, the tackles. Do you remember them crunching Oscar tackles? Oh my! That run through with Mata, 2012-13 under Benitez.
Bro, Oscar, that Juventus goal, that
cold at top bins, man. Absolutely amazing. I love Oscar so much. And if he was to come back and be a Mason Mount's friend, the things I do to see a training picture, Mason Mount and Oscar together, like it's just sick. But yeah, it's sad. But what can we do?
RJ, there's a commentary from Guguletu Medeliste. I hope I pronounced this right. I'm really, really sorry. We should have never sold Oscar. I want you to talk about the whole Oscar scenario because I think he did go to China on his own terms to earn more money, which is fair enough. I mean, these footballers don't get a long time to make a lot of money. And, Oscar coming from Brazil, probably not as well sort of equipped with a lot of money. So he wanted to do what was right for the family. But at the same time, so talk to me about that. But at the same time, I mean, is it kind of, would you like to see Oscar back? I feel like it's a fairy tale that it sounds fantastic, but it probably shouldn't happen. I mean, he is on the older side. Where do we fit him? We can't even fit some of our, big names, youngsters. Havertz doesn't even get a game, let alone Oscar getting a game. But yeah, your thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, I think first up, that statement, we should have never sold Oscar. It's very powerful. It's I remember at the time, because Taron, you articulated it so well, and Miz with the Juve goal sort of throwback. He was one of those players, and I've said this online, I've said this to other players, like he's never spoken about in the echelons of the top players, but he was always someone that was like probably the next level down in terms of he was someone that you could easily develop some affection for and an affinity, because and as his latest commenter, he's genuinely someone that loves the club, and he showed that with his actions.
Yeah.
He didn't just talk a big game. He was one of those players. Let's look who he displaced at the time. He was putting guys that were probably technically superior on the bench because of his all-round balance and the work ethic he provided. And I totally agree with this, the parallel between him and Mount, because he was one of those Brazilians who the general philosophy around their play is that they're more flashier type players, but he was someone that blended in technical ability. Yeah, he's not just a flair player. He was purpose-built, hard-working, and I think someone we always, as a fan, had so much respect just for the amount of love and passion he put into the jersey each game. And I always thought, wow, this guy could be really special, and was one of the only players, in my opinion, that deserved to wear the number 8 since the departure of our legend in Frank. So I think, yes, a very big fairy tale. I would be like Taron 100 million billion% if we could make that happen, perhaps on a very thin wage, and it was happy to play every now and again. But I don't think the likelihood of that's very high, so I don't want to get dragged into it too much. But I love what he says, and I think that we should just really be blessed to say that he did represent our club. And also, we didn't let him go on a free. So to come back on that, we made like, what was it, 60 million from his sale.
A lot of money.
Yeah, 57 million. That's a lot of money that went into the future sort of transfers that we made. Not saying that we spent it 100% wisely, and that's another topic, but at least we got a very good reward for the departure of a very good player. And I just think, just wrapping it up, that yep, he was a quality player. Let's celebrate the legacy he left behind. But if we can make it happen, he comes back, I'm all aboard for the Oscar train.
Yeah, man. I mean, what a fairy tale that would be. The thing I really like about Oscar is that he's been so vocal about it. He pretty much comes out every 3 months, every quarterly, and he says, I want to join back Chelsea. I want to join back Chelsea. And I feel like just give him a final sort of 1-year contract, as you said, RJ. Thin salary. You're not going to play much, but you may feature off the bench. You may start the odd cup game. I wouldn't mind seeing that. And just to reward him, someone who just so badly wants to come back to Chelsea. I've never seen a ex-player that's been so desperately wanting to come back, and he constantly says that I've got so many friends there. I've got so many nice memories there, and I feel like somewhere in himself, he feels like there's some unfinished business that he left. He left Chelsea because he had to for the money. But I think hadn't there been no money issues, then he would have still been at Chelsea till now. So yeah, it would be a fairy tale sort of comeback if he does come back. I can see the live chat really would like Oscar to be back. We've got here a comment saying, if we sign Barkley, then we can definitely sign Oscar, use him as a backup. Please, I don't want to take any Barkley slander. I like Barkley as well. I'm a bit crazy like that. I'm a bit, irrational like that. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much wraps us up with all the news. We've talked about almost everything. Thomas Tuchel, Mason Mount, Oscar, Kante, international duties, a whole lot, I'm sure. Yeah, transfer news as well. Hope you guys all enjoyed that. Thank you to RJ, thank you to Taron, and thank you to Kishan as well, all of this time. RJ, before we go, got all your social in the description, but take your time and tell us about it as well.
Yeah, thanks very much, Miz. And just first up, mate, really appreciate being invited. Always love a great discussion with my fellow Down Under Blue, as we like to call ourselves. And Taron, it's the second of many, fingers crossed, and look forward to jumping on your pod in the very next coming days, fingers crossed. But also, guys, I've been spreading myself a little bit thin across the platforms. I run a couple of pods. So first up is the Balanced Blues Brothers podcast. So you can find us on Twitter and that's just more of a analytical deep dive into each game and some topical themes, with the latest one being with our good friend Daniel Child. So I encourage you to take a look. And the second one, guys, was a more generic Premier League based pod with a couple of local rival friends from Manchester United and Arsenal. So I do my best as a Chelsea fan to represent us proudly. So you can find us on IFT Pod AU or It's a Football Thing. And lastly, I'm a writer and editor for Chelsea site, the Chelsea Social. I highly recommend them because they produce some high quality content. Thanks, guys.
Brilliant. Gabriel, thanks for this particular comment. Thanks, great live stream, mature and thoughtful. That's exactly what we do here. I know it's not always, the banter and the crazy entertainment like all the other channels, but this is how I do my thing in my channel. I get guests like these guys who talk very thoughtfully as well. Taron, my boy, tell us about your podcast. I want your podcast to do really well. So go out there, shout it out. You did have Tom today, Tom Overend. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, my podcast, the minute I'm trying to get, my podcast is basically based around getting special guests from the community, getting on talking about football. Hopefully I've got a guy from this live stream coming on the next few days. I don't know who that is, some random Willy Caballero guy, but I don't really know who that is. But yeah, next week, I'm just joking, please come on still. Yeah, but my podcast, we talk a lot about football, and I've just started 3 weeks ago, so I appreciate all the support in the live chat. Check out Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube, the Perfect Hat Trick podcast with 1 T, not 2s in the hat trick. But yeah, check that out, guys. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully being on the channel more in the future. The other side of the coin, I love being on here, honestly. Hopefully I can be on RJ's podcast soon. I'd really love to be on that. The 2 podcasts that RJ hosts, I'd love to be on there soon. And yeah, check it out, guys. Yeah, pencil that down. And yeah, I really enjoyed being on here. Thanks, last minute. But yeah, check out my podcast for the next few days, something really special that I've already mentioned. But yeah, check that out. Thanks, Miz, as well.
Brilliant. All of that information's in the description, guys. The live chat, as always, I love you guys. Honestly, I cannot praise you guys enough. The live chat always helping this show out and creating discussion points is also kudos to that. Tomorrow, guys, I've got a special member from Everton Rose, who is a female presenter for Everton. She'll be on. We'll be doing the Everton preview. It'll be Mark and hopefully Jonathan will be joining. If not, there might be someone coming in. But Everton Rose will be here. That'll be very interesting. So do tune in for that. UK 7 p.m. And then Sunday, I could have another Everton bunch of boys, the Blue Boys, maybe. I don't know. I'm leaving it up to Jonathan to see if he can strike a deal there. So do look out for that. Some really, really good content coming out just before the Everton game. Do join in on that. So yeah, guys, until next time, everyone, take care and have a good night, good morning, wherever you are. See ya.